Good morning. Back at it again. Tinkering with some more details. Little details, but important details. I'm just going to get in here to start. I actually went in and added an extra sub-D to this mesh just so that I had enough to work with. Seems a bit crazy, but sometimes you just need a couple, like another 40 million polys. Or 30 million, really, but at that point, who's counting? Hope everyone's having a good day out there today. It's Friday. Always nice. Wu-Tang going. Until Twitch bans me. I'll get over it. Just gonna keep detailing up the shirt a bit here. I gotta get to the pants if I can today. I don't have a lot of time this morning before I gotta get back to my meetings in the afternoon, but I figured I'd give it a shot, try and get a little bit more in here. And I'm learning some very valuable lessons about building brushes, because next time I do this work, I'm definitely going to build a brush. I'll probably take that, well, maybe I won't take the mic. Well, no, the mic and Nash brush was really nice. Maybe I would take something like that. Actually, what does this even do? It's kind of interesting. I don't know if that'll actually really help me at all, but it's actually a little bit more interesting than I thought it would be in terms of the shape I'm getting. I'll leave that down there. I don't know what it's doing. Don't know if it's helping me at all, but fun to kind of experiment with this stuff sometimes. I'm gonna pull a little bit of the shape out here. Yeah, I'm definitely kind of wearing down my shape form here a little bit. Let's go in and just kind of break this up a bit. I notice in my reference these areas seem to get really kind of soft and pinchy and bubbly, and I want to kind of capture bits of those sorts of details in here. Oh, that's a bit weird. Just split it. I find I can usually get away with that as a bit of a simple fix a lot of the time. It's like take a weird shape and just cut it with a negative form and dig into it a bit and see if it kind of shapes itself back out. I'm going to grab my Smooth Stronger brush again. I never want to take the time to set this stuff up, but probably would save me a bit of time here as well. Although at this point I feel like I'm so close from moving out of the sculpting process here finally that I guess technically I could... Well, no, I can't. I've been torn. I want to do the arms. I've been wanting to do the arms for a little while since I kind of wrapped them up last couple weeks ago. But I kind of forgot that I wanted to do the arms. So I moved back into doing the clothing right away, and then later remembered that I wanted to do the arms and texture them up and everything like that, and kind of get them into my arm set at least, and see how my detail held up and everything like that, and see what sort of resolutions I can kind of hold it at, and get just all my shading stuff done and things like that, and just kind of see a little bit more progress on the model. But and then I was like, no, I'm in sculpting mode, just keep going on this, and it's always kind of tricky back and forth for me. How about you folks out there? Do you ever have a hard time staying on track? What's your order of operations? I try to really lean into a bit more of a small batch workflow, doing one thing at a time from beginning to end. That's kind of one of the reasons why I finished the face, because I can learn a lot about the process. I'm going to be much more comfortable going into Marmoset with the clothing and with the arm next time. I find that it's a really useful way to kind of approach building stuff, but at the same time you could also consider the whole character a small batch and kind of doing it that way. But it's one thing that I'm constantly trying to get a lot of my students to do as well, is just kind of take things all the way through from beginning to end and just try and finish stuff. It's something that I'm admittedly not the best at either, right? It's it's hard to finish projects. It's hard to go through that process, and it takes a lot of motivation and kind of going through finding that drive and kind of not putting the work down in order to kind of really get through it. And some people can kind of do that a little bit easier. I'm definitely one of those people that have struggled with that for a long time, and I'm just starting to get a much better grasp on it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of you have similar experiences. I know Frank Kingsland talks about stuff like this a lot, and I don't really talk about it much in my streams, but it's definitely a big challenge for a lot of people. I know I see it in some of my students as well, not to single any of them out or anything like that, of course, but it's just a common challenge, right, to actually sit down and do the work and not get distracted and not not try and find every possible excuse along the way, to not keep going and getting more work done and working quicker and all that sort of stuff too, right? Even speed, building speed and finding that speed in your process would be an interesting sort of personal challenge to overcome. I'm just kind of going in and adding in these little details in here, get this sort of bubbliness in here along these edges, and just break this up a little bit. Let's grab that Organifier brush here, grab the carve, and just kind of cut right into this a bit. It's actually a weird one. So, got 3 of these now. Keep building new ones for my classes, and I'm like, oh, that one's kind of useful. Oh, I'll make another variant. Oh, that one's kind of useful. Then I forget what they all do. I'll have to make some little icons for them one of these days and really finish them up properly. Build this line, and I keep forgetting I'm gonna have to go back in and do like an actual piece of stitch geo to sit over top of this. I'm not quite sure what that process is going to look like. It's something I've never done before. Normally I just bake the stitches right into the model, but I don't know that I'm going to have the resolution for that with this model. This is sort of my first big game res asset, and I've seen what I can kind of do with a 4K map on the face, but I feel like with something as fine as stitches, even in my experience with non-game res assets, it's like trying to squeeze that into a mesh can be a bit of a pain. So I'm thinking I'm going to try sort of the Spider-Man approach, I guess. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but using like essentially like a trim machine type thing to do the stitches, right, and just trim it, trim the edges with some stitch geo, and just use that as a way to kind of build out the to kind of stick the stitches over top of everything. I'm not sure what sort of variation I can kind of get out of it. I don't know that I'll need a lot. The stitches will probably be really clean on this clothing, so maybe I'll just kind of take advantage of that and not worry too much about any weird sort of detailing that I might normally. Can I age it the right way? Can I get stitches to rip and be broken and things like that? I mean, I'm sure there's ways to do it depending on how you deal with the geo, but even if I've just got a couple tileables and I can just like do like two, like a layered material or something like that, and do two texture variants and maybe just vert paint them or something like that. But I haven't seen a lot of control for stuff like that in Marmoset. I haven't dug too deep into it either, but I just don't know. But definitely in Unreal that might be possible. Maybe I'll go to that extent. Have to decide how I want to really present it. Am I going to get in close? Am I going to kind of view it from far away? I really want to kind of think about that. I definitely want to really push presenting this in a nice close sense, right? Like I definitely want to take advantage of the detail that I've done on this model. So I'll probably try and get some really nice close-up shots. And to that end, I definitely have to kind of carry a little bit more of this through here as well. Let's kind of get back in here. I just want to smooth this edging down, and I still got that smooth stronger, right? Spacebar, smooth stronger, yeah, okay. So I'm just going to use that to really round that edge out a little bit more. Come on. Save, save, save. Video encoding overloaded. What's that supposed to mean? Probably the save. Probably get a little hiccup every time the save kicks in, I bet. Build this out a little bit. Surface, create a little bit of a bubbly edge here as well. Hear that? Let's bring that lazy step down. Whenever I see that stepping in the brush, right, I'm always kind of looking to see if, you know, maybe reducing that stepping will kind of clean that up a little bit. Get some of that out of there. I want it to. Let's bring the focal shift in. I want it to sort of rounded in the middle, so I'm going to kind of just go back in over it with that. A little bit of the standard brush back in through here just to kind of flatten that mid shape out. Gives it a nice little crease down the center, takes out a little bit of the depth. I kind of like the way it ends up working out. Maybe I can find a better balance for the focal shift though. Keep it from getting too much like there's like a streak down the middle or something. That's not bad. I think I've got to carry this all the way around too. Some shirts don't, but I think with this style, it makes more sense to run this all the way through, even though it's a little bit stiffer material-wise. I think it kind of reads that way, but let's see. What was I looking for? My organifier. Let's go with the. Actually, let's go with the organifier, the base organifier. Oops, I always forget this one is not subtractive. One of the. This is the original sort of design for the brush, was sort of a non-subtractive. I've still taken the pinching effect out and just relying heavily on the actual shape, but the alpha shape. But let's bring the intensity down a bit because that lazy mouse lazy step is very low. Going to exaggerate that strength on the brush a bit. It'll be interesting to see if I can find a good technique for lining up the stitches along these sculpted pieces as well. What did I do there? I could bring the high poly in. Hope that the normal maps line up close enough. Maybe I'll do something like that. Let's go fix the other side. Just give it a big quick tap. And of course, with these tools, the thing that I'm kind of thinking about here is just, you know, the way that this brush. Oops, let's get this a little bit more depth. Why didn't that undo? There we go. Back through that. What was I saying? I don't know. See, I'm not getting quite the clean shape. I guess I could have done a stronger lazy mouse, but I think I'm just going to end up kind of sculpting over this a lot anyway, so it probably won't be a big issue. Let's start over here. No. Go back in with our big broad brush and just kind of hit these edges. I want to round out around the front edge a bit here. See, I'm kind of hitting little bits and pieces of the interior. I wonder if I could do... I wonder if a back face mask isn't a bad idea, actually. I'll bubble it out from the inside as well. You can actually see the original interior shape, which is kind of interesting there. Maybe I can take advantage of that a bit. I don't think sculpting here will be a problem. The smooth should take that out pretty easily, yeah. I won't see that part. Okay. Oops. Why did I just sculpt that? I gotta get better at using that right mouse navigation. Never quite got used to it. What sort of navigation do you find folks use out there? You know, are you doing you know, the left click, right click? You go over to the side menu and use the buttons to navigate. I don't recommend that, but it is there. I left click. I'm using ZBrush since left click navigation was the only navigation. I can't seem to break myself away from it despite some of the traps that I fall into. I actually used to purposefully put a bigger border space around my geo, but they made that a little less convenient because they made it so easy to fill my canvas. It used to be that filling your canvas with this sort of data was actually a little bit harder to do, but then they went in and changed that process because it's now just part of like the document settings and everything like that. So now it just kind of ends up filling the screen. I just kind of use it the way it is now, the way they give it to me. Let's get this in here. I'm gonna really kind of get that bubbling out that way as well. On the back side. I do see a little bit of the back edges of some of these surfaces, so I definitely want to kind of make sure I'm not ignoring these areas, because they might end up visible. Just want to make sure that I'm not completely ignoring that stuff. Maybe I can even grab like a quick go away, go away, go away. Okay. Actually, let's go see Organifier again. Just gonna slice that edge in there. I guess I could isolate this. Let's do that. Let's do it quick. Oh, I'll grab just enough to make this a problem. There we go. Controlling visibility on a 30 million poly model is always a bit of a odd process. So I just kind of went through there and quickly hit Control-Shift-A to take my selected geo and just isolate it down. It's just a little thing, but it adds a lot. So I'm just kind of throwing that in there. Let's get this sharpened up just a bit more so we can kind of get these edges to stand out a bit. So that things read a little bit nicer at a distance here. Oops. There we go. Yeah, you know, that'd probably be okay. Do I have my back face masking on? No, I should probably take this in though. Right, just so that I know where that goes. That's just the hold for the button there. It should be covered because the fabric kind of goes up to it, but just want to make sure. And there goes my undo history. Always a funnest part of this process is dealing with that. It's strange because I'm not really like low on memory or anything like that, but it's something that I just encounter a lot when I'm doing this sort of work these days. I really encountered it a lot on the face when I did the face on the model here. 50 million polys, but this one's about 40. And I think I encountered it a bit on the vest as well when I was doing it, which is I think also 40 right now. Let's go ahead and get this edge in here too. Wait for it to save up. There. A little bit. I think what I'll do is just take like a big brush and kind of carry through a little bit of this shape. Just let it kind of buckle and pinch these areas a bit, and then I'll just go back over it again. Something like that. Just kind of break these shapes up a little bit through here. These can be shorter, some of them longer. So this. Just brush some soft smoothing back over the whole thing. I should be a bit more careful about my back face masking too. I don't think I want to keep that on anymore. So I just got the smooth stronger in here. I think let's go down a subdiv level. Let's see if that's a bit faster now. Yeah. Just use that to kind of take a little bit of that out. There's a little bit coming this way from these shapes too, so maybe I can kind of get a little bit of variation in this section here. And I'll just go back over with the standard brush again. Lower focal shift over this area. Break up a few of these shapes with a few. Oh, that is right. I'm just gonna go back in, break it up a bit, smooth it back down a bit. Just let it kind of go in here. You can kind of see it gives me that little pinched feel. I'll break this way a little bit as well. Kind of do that. Let's make sure I'm not crashing through the wrist while I'm at it. Not a big deal if it does, but definitely want to kind of make sure. And I'll just go back over this surface as well a little bit here. I think I just want that. Getting that same sort of soft depth sort of effect here. Let's go in with a nice low focal shift on a smaller brush and a lower intensity. Just brush back through here just to kind of take some of the height off the peaks. I could also do like a smooth peaks, but I did that with the other area and it worked okay, but I think with this I want something a little bit more different. So creating a bit of contrast there. Let's try keep just kind of breaking this up a little bit for now actually. fully in shape in here. There's something to kind of soften the material up a little bit. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's bring that edge out just a bit. This area in just a bit more as well. Okay. Let's try that smooth. Let's go in with the Damien standard actually, and just quickly kind of knock in a few sharper, depthier separations in here. This will be a fine proxy for that change that I'm doing in there. And then I think what I want is just the smooth peaks. I'm just going to take out some of the depth on this end here, just kind of smooth that back down a little bit. I ended up flipping the camera around to the other side because I wasn't paying attention there. Well, I guess I caught it, but there's nothing wrong back in. Actually work a little bit nicer on these areas, I think. Smooth and round out that edge. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'll do a little split here too, just to kind of get the sense that we've sort of got two fabric layers kind of folded back on each other. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that. Let's try let's do the Organifier carve for this one. My lazy radius so I can get some control. Oh, every time lazy radius, every time. A bit more intensity here, actually. Oops. That's not bad. I buy that. Okay, okay. Do that right along this whole edge. Let's go with dynamic brush size so I don't have to worry about the brush adjusting on me. And we're moving sideways now. Move it. Try again. Why am I moving sideways? That better? Is that actually working now? Not sure if it's actually doing what I want it to do or not. Still kind of moving sideways. Orientation maybe? Where is that option? Picker deals with orientation. No, I don't want to do that. I've never really used those before. Interesting. Oh. Never knew that was there. Don't know what it does yet, but... Okay, something weird is going on with this. Let's try... Okay, that's fine. I wonder if this is an effect of the displace base type, or if this is just something in the brush itself that's doing that. Let's try the Damien standard and see if it does behave the same way. So this might just be the brush size relative to the surface here. So maybe with a high intensity and a small draw size, the lazy radius cranked, I can kind of work my way around more carefully this way. Just kind of clean this up a little bit, actually. Let's just re-smooth this section from here to here. And I can probably go up to my... Oh, I've got my wrong smooth brush. Stronger. Yeah. I can probably go back through with my my regular Damien standard here, just to kind of clean that up a little bit. Kind of weird all the way back through to here, so I'm just going to take that out. Resculpt that edge there. Yeah, I think I just need like a small brush with a lot of depth to it, right? So we'll just we can even go up a subdiv level on this. I have a feeling what's happening here is I've got some weird, because of the way the geo is sort of laid out and it's thin. And I've even got some polygrouping here, although I don't think I've got like an auto mask by polygroups on or anything like that that would cause this. But if we take a look at this area, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I think it's just that brush is catching this edge. Let's try a really thin alpha. Just bring that in a bit. Sharpen this alpha up a little bit. And do maybe let's crank back the focal shift. Bring that draw size nice and low. Sometimes these brushes just throw me off. And I'll turn off the polyframe as well. I won't need that. That's not helping me anyway. Okay, let's try this again. Can I repeat the stroke for extra depth? Or am I just hooped here? It's not terrible, I guess. Okay, yeah, I got it now. Alright. Took a bit of doing, but why is this such a problem? It's weird. Just go right around the edge. Clean up the problems later. Just get this done. Too many other areas to deal with. I would have liked it to be a little bit broader, I think, overall. Got a little bit more of that shape in there, but you can see, like, no matter what I do here, it's like it just wants to kind of distort in weird directions right now, and I'm really not sure exactly why. I'm kind of forced it a bit here on this edge. Yeah, see, it's starting to move sideways, and it's just not liking the planes on that. Smooth it a bit seems to help, but I'm just going to do that and see if that does it. Yeah, it kind of gives me that sort of edged lip read that I'm looking for, right? Just that little bit of, you know, you catch it in an angle and you see that sort of backing, that second layer back in there. That'll probably be nice there. And I'll do the same thing like right along this edge too, maybe, just to... My lazy mouse don't fail me now. Get the difference in the depths. The way that no, this is the Damien standard, so this is the standard brush, so this should be really consistent, but I don't know. Something weird's going on. I'll leave it though. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. And we're off to the other side. Okay. I'm going to do this edge first because I already cleaned this section up a bit. Let's go in with a lower intensity and this bit. Face masking so I don't go through. Let's do this actually. Isolate this piece down. This side I think I can see a little bit more than the other side even, so I definitely want, it's a little wide. Definitely want that shape nice and visible through here. That little edge. Smooth it a bit through here. I'm just gonna redo that. There we go. Because I think that's, oops, of course I gotta hide the whole thing. I think that's gonna be a part that's definitely a lot more visible. Let's go in and just fix up these edges a bit. Do the same thing through here. Break that up a bit like that. And then we'll go back in and split the center down. I wonder if just because I'm pulling it sideways it's causing it to do that. I'm really not sure. This, I'm just gonna add a bit of that bubbliness in. It's a little messy. Okay. So Damien Standard. Up your strength. Brush might be a bit on the big side here. Smaller, slightly smaller brush. And I'll just go back over it and smooth it a bit as well. I'm gonna clean up these edges a little bit through here. There we go. Okay, let's see how that looks. I think this stuff's all... Oh no, actually it's visible. Okay, good. Not wasting my time completely. Yep, cool. Catching that little edge. I wonder if it would be better. I don't know if it would really help me to do this beforehand or not. You know, I'm just kind of thinking through whether this is going to be better to split now versus later, but I'm going to try it now and see what order works best. You know, that way if I have to do this again some other time, I have a better idea of... Yeah, see, now I've just got all sorts of weird issues. What if I smooth it? Let's smooth it down first and just see if cleaning this edge helps at all. Brush smoothing over it. Smooth, 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 so smooth. And then, now I'll hit it with that. Okay, it's doing it in parts. I'll just go back over it again later. Start the intensity a bit more. See where it works. Can I do it in layers? Like, is it missing something? Is it the... I don't think the brush modifier would cause that issue. Maybe it's just my camera angle. I gotta get a handle on this one. I'd be surprised if the back face mask was doing it, but maybe. It's not really doing it. It's still getting the issue. What else? What else could cause this? Modifiers. Brush modifier 0. Let's try taking the brush modifier out. Well, that didn't really help. Okay, I'm just going to go in close. Proximity seems to be the biggest culprit, so... Just smoothing it over again. Like it just wants to move sideways sometimes, and I don't know why. Okay, so adjusting the poly count back down, so no, it's not quite working the way I hoped it would. Okay, well, I'm just gonna kind of keep working my way around, I guess. See if I can kind of do like a repeat stroke type thing and just kind of do section by section here. Keep hammering the one key and just kind of keep reapplying the stroke. So I just do not know what is going on with this. If anyone happens to have any ideas as to why, I mean, you know, again, it could be something like just, you know, the orientation of the geo is just funky enough in this area that it's causing me some trouble, but it just doesn't like me here. Whatever's going on, it just does not like. Just kind of going back and forth like this. I'll just do a section, smooth a section, do a section, smooth a section. We'll get there. Just the region, it's like it just doesn't want to. I wonder if like the clay brush would be. Clay brush with like an alpha on it. Try like a low lazy step point. Actually, let's try the Damien standard alpha. I've been waiting to. I should have exported this alpha out a long time ago. One of these days. Okay, so this has been a long time coming. I'm just going to reset this, export, throw this right back into my startup folder, alphas. We'll just call this Thorn. And now I should be able to take this, grab like my clay buildup, and throw my Thorn alpha on there. Tune it in a little bit and see if this. Oh, wait, actually, let's do. We subtract. You know, that's so much more consistent. Stupidly more consistent. You know, it's just sometimes, you know, with that standard brush, there's a reason that I kind of moved so much away from it. I mean, the clay isn't always going to be great, but in this case, it just handled this problem so much nicer. There's a lazy step at 0.01. Better. Oops. Okay. Yeah, much better. Okay, let's see. Of course, the downside is that it's the clay brush now, right? So I've got all the issues that the clay brush brings with it, but I wonder if I can even go back over it with the Damien standard now. It probably will behave so much nicer. Right, let's check it out. Right, let's see if I go back through that section. Not quite. It still wants to face a certain way. I'm not quite sure why. So we'll just go back over these areas and just kind of clean them up. Claybrush just handles orientation so much better in this instance, and I think that's the issue that I'm kind of encountering, is that it's just the surface facing direction is just so tight in this area because it's like an edge on a surface that it's pushing the geo in like slightly hard to predict directions. So it's okay though, because I don't need it to be like super clean. I just need something that's going to read well here. Might have even been able to do this with Geo. No, I don't want to change the top up right now. That would just cause all sorts of other issues. Let's just leave it. Let's say that I did it real good. Just pretend this was a perfect process and it went really smoothly. No issues at all. No issues at all. The magic of ZBrush. Let's pop this into add mode again and just kind of build that back up a bit. Like really high intensity. Yeah, let's just smooth that out. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, so now we got that edge on there. Okay, all of that for that. And back to the standard brush. So for this, I'm doing these edges. Backface mask is on. Let's go in and just kind of build this up. That sort of square, flat square shape in the corner. Turn the dynamic draw size back off here as well. I never quite decide if it's quicker for me to adjust the draw size or push the camera in. Just moving the camera around helps too, so that's fine. I'm kind of sculpting both sides here. That's okay. Maybe I should have inflated. Oh, you know what? Smoothing will fix it. I'll just smooth it back down. Do little smooth peaks or something. Clean that up real quick. See if it works anyway, right? Like the whole thing was, you know, trying to decide whether I wanted to do this first or last. So I guess I'll find out. The point was to find out. So let's go ahead and find out. So a little bit of that, and then let's turn the backface masking off for this part. I'm just gonna sculpt these around a bit. I want a soft focal shift through here. Just gonna build up little wrinkle shapes here. Just don't want to hit those bony forms on the wrist. Get a little bit of that there. Maybe I'll break that up. That's not bad. Do that, and then do this. Just gonna go in and do that. Broader brush like this, just kind of throw in a few of these, and maybe even, you know, I was doing this with the Damien Standard, or actually I was doing this with the Organifier earlier, wasn't I? I was kind of just going in and like carving in some strong lines through here. Maybe I can kind of do a bit of the same sort of stuff here. I kind of break through these shapes a bit. No backface masking, cool. So this will really just give me that extra bit of sharpness in spots where I need it. Follow a few of those shapes. Cut this in a bit too while we're at it. Just smooth it back out. Transition a bit. Blend those shapes out. Blend them out. A lot of smooth, stronger. Really easy. So just brush a little bit right over top of this. Okay, so back over it. brushes to knock out a little bit of those high points. Folding in here just to kind of break that up a little bit. I don't know if that's really what I want. Maybe I'll do a little bit of like, get it feel like it's sort of pulling through this area a bit actually, just something like that. Yeah. That's where the button is. I'm just gonna do just a bit. Too. Yeah. Do I just sculpt over my... No, I never sculpted the little stitch hole here. Okay. Let's switch. Organifier again, and just dig this sucker in. Where is this? Right there? Yeah. I'll kind of give it a little bit of an opening. And this was actually this sort of detail required my highest poly count, so let's see if this ever bakes. Always a question and a half. Keep shaping this around a bit. Thin that space out a little bit more. Maybe stretch it just a bit on either side so I can kind of see it. Let's do like a maybe the carve wide. Really don't have a lot of resolution in here, but ooh, it's a stronger brush than I thought it was going to be. Did it just crank it? So let's try half that. Again, there we go, better. I just want that sharpness in there. Maybe I can even do like a little bit of an adjustment to this alpha, even a little bit more contrast on that edge. Let's go to focal shift. Really. Just that break of detail. Oops. Yeah, I think that'll work. I don't know. It may end up not really reading. We'll see. If it doesn't, I can actually do the same thing that I was doing with the stitches, I guess. I'm just gonna place like a little detail down. But I don't think it'll be a problem. Did I do the other side? I don't know if I ever did the other side with that. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, so let's go in and curve that one in too. Let's go and curve. It's nice to have several different brushes to work with here in the same category constantly. Get a little quicker to get in here and shape these things out. I'm going to leave that actually. I don't want to get it too close to that edge. Ooh. Oops. Okay. Standard brush. Lift that edge. A little bit of a bubbly variation. Let's see. Yeah. Just pinch it together a little bit. I'm not pinching it physically, I'm just using the move brush in this case, but it'll do. And then we'll go in and grab that, that carved wide brush that I was using earlier. Just do a little bit of, basically just kind of generating like thread noise here. A little bit bigger on the brush. Barely have enough resolution for most of that. Just clean up that edging a bit. Just go back over it. Okay, yeah. Cool. Alright. So how's it reading? Mid. And okay. I think that's matching my reference pretty well. I feel like I could still do with a little bit more variation through some of this stuff here. So maybe I'll go back in with that Damien standard again, because I think it's kind of set the way I want. We'll just drop the intensity down a lot on it. Just kind of go in, maybe add, just like kind of layer in some little crease wrinkles through, especially through the elbow area here. Just want like a little bit more of that. Maybe I can even do like a little. I'm gonna bring this in a bit, but blur the crap out of it. Maybe even round it a bit. Yeah, something like that might be nice. Do that. Yeah, let's do that. Just shaping it a bit. I just want to shape that alpha nicely. It's pretty sharp still, but get a little bit more in here. Lazy radius down a lot. I could probably even go with like a softer, rounder shape through here too, just to kind of get that. Do those little forms real quick. Let's do maybe a. I wonder what a modified alpha will look like for that shape. Let's try that. I really wish I could take this piece into my UI. That'd be super convenient, but. These things I'm not quite sure on how to kind of add in. That's actually probably not bad. Bring in the focal shift to smooth it a bit. Just do that. That's not bad. Bring it in a little bit more. Oh. Just the laziness. Lazy snaps 0.05. Drop the intensity a little bit. I think this is just like a first stroke issue, so I'll just like tap it somewhere and see if I can kind of get it to, yeah, that's all it was. I just want to carry this effect down a little bit through these regions. Brushing a little smoothing over it afterwards. This fold's probably my least favorite here. This one was straight out of Marvelous too. I'm not a fan of that. Try the inflate and just thicken the volume up on it a little bit. Kind of smooth the edging down. Just feels weird. Undo it. Hey, how's it going, Chris? Welcome back. Just sitting here mumbling to myself. Waiting for my brushes to decide to work. What you been up to lately? Room in here to clean these edges up a bit. Do a little bit of just a little hint of like a line through here, just to kind of, yeah, just break that. Practicing some figure stuff, nice, nice. What sort of stuff you been doing figure-wise? Just like speed sculpts, or like focus on anatomy, or like, are you talking like something different? I don't know what else there would be. Lack of imagination, perhaps. Posing. Ooh. Cool. That's one thing that I'm looking forward to on this character, is getting it all set up and posed. Still a little ways from that, though. Down a few levels here. Clean up that shape and use the AccuCurve. AccuCurve fix my problems. Oh, no, topological should work on this. How's the posing process going for you then? Has it been an interesting challenge, or just warming you up for something? What are you prepping for, perhaps, is the even better question. Catching the back side of the surface, I think. So let's see, can I fix that? Let's go display properties. Oh, I do have double-sided on. Actually, why I can see it in the first place, I guess. Bring it inside. Okay. Smooth it a bit. Oh, nice. Sounds like it's working for you. Pants. I think the pants are going to need to be cut up in pieces at some point here. I should have hollowed these pieces out when I had the chance, but I did not, and now I suffer for it. I want to do this. Basically, just want to carry over a lot of the same sort of stuff I've been doing, I guess, really, but at a higher subdiv. So I think I'll start by just subdividing this up another notch. 27 million. Let's see if that's enough to do the trick here. Smooth out a bit of the waistband. No, let's not waste my time on the waistband, actually. Make them out of different insert meshes. Nice. Do you have like a custom set of insert meshes that you're using, or are you using like primitives for it? And did you build those pieces yourself if they are custom? Or did you do you have a specific pack that you like? So many questions. Nice. I think what I want to do is just start going in and reinforcing some of these shapes in here. Sharpen things up a little bit. Let's go in with yeah, that low focal shift ought to be good. Build that out with a normal focal shift. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's go with the Damien's. Let's go with the Organifier. Let's do this one. This one was working. Ugh, every time. Keep forgetting the Organifier has a paint on it. I gotta resave these brushes. Let's do that right now, actually. Let's go in and turn off the RGB and just brush. Save as. Let's just replace my... Oh, that's the wrong brush folder. Fix that. There we go. Yeah, nice. Sounds like a good starting point. Imagine it gives you a pretty solid base to work from, at least. I'm going to kind of carry some of this through and just kind of go through that same process that I've been going through on the rest of the clothing here. I'm actually noticing already how these sections are set up. Maybe I'll do this piece, just split it right now, so that I've got the left and right legs kind of set up and ready to go. I'm doing this one, you know, I kind of have to decide which side the waistband goes on, because I think I built the waistband as one big piece. Maybe I didn't. Did I split it down the middle and the back? Because if I did split it down the back and the middle. Okay, so it is 2 halves. So I'll grab it, just include it, take the whole half of the pants, and just split it back out. Yeah, you know, it's sort of one of those things that I find kind of varies depending on what I need, right? Like, you know, I do the same sort of thing with, you know, how I start models from spheres a lot of the time myself. You know, constantly, you know, I really get the advantage of working from a base mesh or starting from something that's got like a good starting point, even something like Z-spheres, which I do use from time to time. But, you know, at the same time, the sphere is sort of a blank canvas is really intriguing from an artistic point of view, from a style point of view, right? The simpler shapes really give you that freedom to kind of explore a little bit more. So, you know, at least in, you know, in the sense that you're not kind of imparting any predetermined shape. Obviously, you can technically adjust your form into whatever you really want it to be, but you know, it's still something that's kind of there to begin with if you're not careful, I guess. Let's see, I can't split because I got subdiv levels, which means I got to do this the hard way. I should have split this first. I always forget that ZBrush can't do that. Let's go delete lower. Let's isolate. Control-Shift-A and get that to highlight everything in the isolated section, and then did I get the back pocket? Hope I got that. Actually, it might not matter if I... No, I did. Okay, that's part of it. And then I can split it, and then I can reconstruct it, right? Probably should have saved first. Always a good thing to save first, but let's just pretend that I did. And hope that this works out. I should get all my subdiv levels back. It's a bit like constructive figure. Yeah, totally. That makes a lot of sense. That's probably all of it. Can't imagine my Marvelous Designer export being lighter than this. About 52,000 polys for half a pant, like, see, no, okay, it's enough. Oh. Is that the actual... Oh, you know what probably happened is, yeah, this is probably the low, and then I probably did, I probably used transfer attributes in Maya to make sure that it all worked its way up the subdivs properly. So let's unsolo and do the same thing to the other side while I'm here, just so that I've got the two halves all properly reconstructed and everything. Don't want to forget this part way or break something along the way by dynameshing or sculpture seeing it or whatever. Almost there. Okay. 12:20. I'm running out of time already, unfortunately, but you know, all things considered. Oh, shit. Nah, you know, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm a little frustrated. I split this piece the wrong way. I could probably go in and fix it, but I didn't even think to include it, so it'll be fine on the other side. This side's more detailed anyway, so the few extra polys that this side will lose from that process will probably be fine. So let's see what my high res is like. So splitting it in half at 20 should give me what, 10, 15 million? 15 million probably each side. Should be able to squeeze in one more subdiv. That's going to push it pretty high poly. I'm just trying to squeeze in one more subdiv on these pants, basically, which is the whole thing. So 13 million. Let's see where I'm at. $50 million. It's heavy, but you know what? Compared to whatever, with everything else that I'm doing so far, you know, I'm at 180 million on this model without the head. So that'll put me at. Yeah, I'm definitely going to game res the pants. I'm going to game res all of it. The only thing that's the pieces that are already done are basically like the head and the arm. But I've got to do like a proper game res over the rest of the model as well, and then I'll be in a spot to kind of move on to the next bits, I guess. But for now, I'm still kind of sculpting it all out, I guess. No, I want to do this. I think think I want to go in and do like a reinforced shape on this. Yeah, I plan on doing like some additional detailing in Substance and of course even in Marmoset with like a detail map, nice tiling, micro detail, things like that to really kind of help round it out a little bit more. Mostly what I'm doing here is just trying to get enough geo to do some of this detail. I probably could have been smarter with this, and maybe I'll still go back and do it, which is to like delete the interior structure, because right now at 50 million, you know what, maybe I'll do that. Maybe this will be the last thing I do. Instead of diving into this, I'll just reduce this down. So in order to fix this, I need to go to my low res, and I need to re-isolate my poly loops, which is why I've been sitting on it, because this is kind of a whole process in and of itself. So let's go grab, oh actually I've got it down here, select lasso, and we'll go in and do a little edge loop selection here. These should be my edges on the pants, so we'll just regroup that. I'm just going to do this over the whole thing actually. I'll just go through, grab that one, that one, that one, and that one. Go around the panels and basically do this over the whole thing, because that way I can kind of get rid of a lot of this interior structure. I actually lost this poly grouping partway through. I must have been doing something where I needed some other poly group setup. I can't remember, couldn't tell you what, but I definitely clearly did at some point. Do I need to get this piece? I probably need to get this piece. Let's go in and get this piece. Can I get it somewhere? Probably don't need to go get both pieces actually. Let's just do that for now. Can I get the interior? Actually, I know what I'll do. I'll just grab this, Control-Shift-A. And that should give me access to that. Oops. Huh. I'll add that to the hidden invert, and then how do I fix that? Didn't think that through now, did I? If I group that, then I can go in and invert that, right? So I can do like a point selection, Control-Shift-A, hide that. Oops, let's do this with that. There we go. Control-W. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so I got that, and then I should be able to take this and do an auto groups on it. Polygroup. Auto groups should give me an interior and exterior panel for all those pieces, and I'll do the same thing here because that one wasn't available. Oh, and I missed the back pocket, so let's just take the back pocket here. Make sure I get that too. So we'll do select lasso, grab that loop, that loop, that loop, grab that loop. Nope, that's not right. Oh, I did it. Okay. Auto group that. That's probably fine. Oh, nope, it didn't go all the way around. Why didn't it go all the way around? Oops. Come on, come on. Get that edge. There we go. Auto group it. Nope. Still missing a corner. There we go. Now it's separated. Perfect. Okay. So that oh, actually, I'm being stupid. The back pocket actually doesn't need to be done. Probably think about that next time. Oh well, it's okay. I got this. So I'm going to do select rectangle, click OK. I'm going to go in and take out this piece, probably this piece, and this piece. I think that's all I need to worry about on the exterior. Invert that selection. This is the tricky part because it folds over. So I need more of this than I would normally. So maybe I'll do this part by lasso. We'll just go in and do this and just kind of follow that loop. Is that good enough? Can I fix it at all? No, I can't. Maybe I'll do it the other way. Maybe I'll leave it like this and then I'll shrink it first. So I'll do a visibility, shrink, shrink, do 2 loops in. It's probably a bit more than I need generally, but 2 should be pretty consistent. And then I kind of just go follow this section around. Let's go like, let's just go in and just do this piece as a whole. I won't worry too much about keeping it clean. Make sure I got plenty of room down there. And then that should leave the interior hidden. So if we go into my display, double-sided. Yeah, so that should give me plenty of room to work. Yeah. Okay, so now I can get rid of this. So I gotta go back up to my high poly. Delete the lower. I did not Z-remesh these. These are just straight out of Marvelous Designer. I should have Z-remeshed these. The biggest thing that I've kind of regretted going through this process is that I didn't do some sort of retopo on the Marvelous Designer stuff. My thought process was that I was going game res at some point anyway, so I didn't need the retopo. But all the twists and turns in the default Marvelous Designer topo have caused all sorts of weird sculpting issues, because the edge turns and the stars and everything are causing like just all sorts of weird little pinches and stuff. I've been able to work around it well enough that I'm not like, oh, I've got to go fix this now. But in hindsight, what I probably would do the next time I do this would definitely be to take this and Z-remesh the flat version if I could. I'd probably Z-remesh the flat out of Marvelous Designer, and then do a transfer attributes back inside of Maya, and then subdiv it and transfer it as a higher poly, and then bring that back into ZBrush, because even the Z-remesh result there would probably have given me a clean enough mesh to keep working with. Even though it would have been less even, less consistent in terms of the way the topo lines up. I don't need that anyway for this workflow, so I think that's what I would probably do the next time around. I just didn't like the issues that I ran into with this. It's just useful. If you're doing non-game res though, I still generally recommend doing like a full, well, I mean, if you're doing something that I would want to be clean, sort of for more like cinematic or effects or other production level stuff that's not games, where you're doing like where you're not going back in and building like a game res over everything. I would probably consider doing a retopo by hand, which would have been more again in Maya on the flat version of the Marvelous Designer mesh. I'm just going to go in and delete the lower subdivs off of this now. I'm doing this with the pieces hidden, and I did the hiding at the lowest subdiv, and this is something that I do really consistently with these sorts of meshes. I even do this, I usually do this earlier on in the process, and I think I did it on part of the shirt, but I do this a lot because I find that I don't need the full interior of the mesh, right, for obvious reasons, but I want enough of a lip, enough of an overhang that I have some play. Usually one poly loop is enough, but I usually go in 2 just to be safe. I've certainly pushed it far enough, but you have to kind of constantly go up to the highest subdiv and do things like delete hidden and stuff like that, make your topo changes. But you have to define all the elements that you want to remove at the low res. So I'm going in low res, isolating the parts that I want to hide, doing my delete hidden, and that way I can kind of properly reconstruct the mesh, right? Because the last thing I want is to end up with just the high poly. It's not the end of the world on an asset like this, but obviously, you know, without those subdivs, I lose a lot of the control that I have over the mesh. So it's nice to be able to kind of reconstruct back down to my low poly if I can, especially if you've got a mesh with subdivs, right? Obviously, if you're working with something like a Dynamesh, this is completely irrelevant, but which is kind of how I like to think about it anyway. I'll kind of fix this up on this side, and then I'll do the other side, or reconstruct that side too. You know, this is funny because it's like the instant regret of subdividing that at that extra step, because it's just adding to the extra time that this is going to take. Reconstruction is always slow, but you know, having to do that off of one more level and having it to go, you can see it's actually every time you reconstruct, it doesn't just reconstruct the low res, it updates the high poly, and you know, the higher that high poly mesh is, the longer this takes, right? So even that extra subdiv to that 50 million mark is probably adding up now. Hopefully this will be a little closer to 30 million now. That's kind of my goal, is to kind of bring that poly count down just enough that it's a little bit more manageable. Hopefully me keeping a bit more of that inner lip wasn't too much of a problem, because I still do have you know, I am keeping a lot of polys just so that I can preserve that edge. You can do less, right? You don't have to keep it all, but I just find it's nice to have it. Yeah, you know, I haven't done a lot of Marvelous Designer myself. It's one of those tools that I've worked with a bit, but I've got 32 gigs, which isn't really a lot. And surprisingly, ZBrush seems to still struggle with certain things, especially memory-wise, like my undo history, even though I've got what I would consider like you know, even though I'm not using up all my memory, but I'd be curious to see how it did with more. I just don't really know. I've always wanted to upgrade this thing to 64, but haven't had the chance to do it, and I've put it off for so long that I may end up rebuilding my machine before I ever get around to it, because it's like, you know, maybe I will. Maybe when, you know, maybe when the DDR5 stuff becomes popular, the prices on the DDR4 will come down enough that I'll just be like, I'll just do that and sit on it for another year or something. That, or I'll want it so badly that I'll be like, nope, rebuilding my system and do something different. Maybe I'll get like a big Threadripper build or something if AMD is still big by the time I get around to it. Be fun. I could definitely use more threads on this thing. I think that's one of the things that's kind of the other sort of side of it. It's kind of you know, if there's anything that's going to help ZBrush along, that'd be a fun one. Just get a little bit more processing power in here. But yeah, I haven't hit a point where I've really used up my memory on this system. Although I am, like I said, running into issues where ZBrush is running out of memory, or at least it's not necessarily running out of memory, but it's not storing. It's not able to store all the history as my poly count gets really high. So it's like, oh, I've got to dump all your old history, and that's even since I don't save the history between the project saves. That's just the work that I'm doing in that day. But on those high poly models, it eats that up pretty quickly and runs into those issues. So I tend to, I'm not quite sure where the bottleneck is there. It doesn't seem to be the RAM, so I don't know if adding more would really make a difference or not. But I don't know. If anyone does know, you know, if anyone's working with like 128 gigs of RAM in their system, and it's like, yeah, I never, you know, I work with 500 million poly models and never run into a problem. That'd be interesting to hear. Yeah, it's, you know, I get that. That's pretty much what happens to me too, right? It's like I'll subdivide up to 50 million polys on a model. The head model that I worked on, I did on my my tablet exclusively, or almost exclusively. I don't think I was working at home at the time when I was working on the head for this model. And I pushed the poly count up to 50 million, and he had 4 layers for detailing and stuff on it. So I had a layer for like closing the eyelids, and then a layer for my porous pass, and then a layer for like my fine details, and a corrective layer, and all sorts of other stuff going on. And I thought the layers were really what were killing me, but it could just be just the sheer poly count on it that was really causing the issues. So that's good. I got that in there. But yeah, anyway, I was running into that same sort of issue where essentially my undos were, you know, I'd do a few bits of detailing, and I get this warning that says, you know, I've got too much undo history, and that it needs to delete it. And I don't know exactly what was causing it. At first I thought it was the RAM, but now I run into it here, and I still have plenty of RAM, because on my old system it was like I would use all 16 gigs. ZBrush would just use it all up, but on my desktop system, it just doesn't seem to be that's the issue, and yet I still get the problem. So I'm not quite sure exactly where it's coming from, but I know I'm not the only one doing, you know, high poly meshes like that, so I don't know if they run into the same issue too or not. Certainly made me a bit more appreciative of the fact that I was using HDGeo, or not HDGeo, sorry, was using what's the word I'm looking for, like the mesh the way that I was, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I was glad that I used the layers, I guess. That's what I think I'm trying to say. Like, really built the layers into my model and everything, because I think that kind of gave me more options when I ran out of history. Like, I could, you know, go back and store morph target and kind of clean things back up. But I also was concerned at the time that the layers themselves were what were eating up a lot of my memory and causing the issue in the first place. So not quite sure what the right answer was there, but definitely something to think about, at least if you're building a PC. Anyway, I don't know. I don't have any answers though, so let me go back in and fix the other leg before I run out of time here. So I want to delete the interior pieces, so I gotta do Shift F and do another select. I'm just gonna get all this stuff. Edge. W. This one, oops. Oh, did I get the right edge? Yeah. This one. A weird one because it's like wraps really funky. Another area where I think Z-Remesher would have made this a, well, yeah, no, Z-Remesher definitely would have. I wouldn't have run into this issue because I panel looped this, so that's actually not something I would have had to have worried about anyway. Oh, I don't need to do the belt line. The waistband I keep thick on all sides. I'll just do it. Okay. Do it live. Control W. Let's get this edge, and it's cousin. Nice. And I'm gonna learn my lesson and not do the back pocket. Okay, so let's see if this comes out correctly. Auto group. Oh, and I missed an interior piece. So, oh no, wait. That is correct. Yes. So different colors, interior, exterior, consistent. Yes. Okay. So what I want to do next is separate out the interior. Once it's done saving. So we're cutting this down. We lost like 15 million poly so far. It's gonna be worth it. Let's get rid of that. What's that? There we go. That's the interior. Try to double-side it off. That'll be easier. Those are the interior parts that I want to get rid of. Yes. Invert. Shrink. This would be a fun one to script. Maybe I can make a button for this one day. It's one that I do just consistently enough so that I could see it being useful. Let's go ahead and lasso that as well. Oops. Subtractive. That would be good. Yeah, I definitely can't see into the underside of that pant area anyway. Yeah, okay, so we'll do that. So we'll go back up to my high poly, and I've got it all hidden. Yeah, I'm definitely going to rig it. I don't know how complicated I'll make the rig, but I do want to be able to pose it pretty effectively. I'm still trying to decide on whether I'm going to end up taking the time to do like a proper blend shape set and stuff like that. I don't think I've got it in me to do like a full like joint based face rig. So I might do like a blend shape set to do it instead, even though it's probably not as effective for the real-time approach. But I know I can carry it into, well, I probably won't do any animation anyway, so it might just end up being for the purposes of posing, but we'll see. I haven't animated in a long time, and it could be fun, so depending on how well I take to the rigging process, it's been a long time since I've rigged in Maya, so I might just get there and do like the basic rig and then be like, you know what, I really don't feel like getting into the nitty-gritty of trying to correct, you know, deformations in the shoulders and forearms and elbows and all that sort of stuff, and building all the little things that make it deform better. But I don't know, it could be a fun experience. It's like I said, it's been a long time since I've rigged up anything. I haven't used the auto rig. I you know, there's something about building it myself that I really used to enjoy it. I used to enjoy it in Softimage, right? I never really took to it in Maya. I always found it kind of frustrating in Maya. I knew that the principles were the same and that fundamentally it wasn't different enough, but or wasn't so different that I should worry about it. But despite all of that, I still like the idea of kind of going in and doing a really nice rig. Spine control. Yeah, maybe I'll take a look at it. It could be worth trying anyway. I got to learn a little bit about bringing that, like what I can take into Unreal as well, because I do want to kind of make sure that this is something that functions in that regard in Unreal, so that I can play with it. So I'm kind of curious to see how that process is. So maybe I'll learn a range of different things, but we'll see. I might, you know, what'll probably happen is I'll throw a basic rig on it, get it posed, and then put together some presentation shots based on that, and just focus on presenting it as an asset, and then decide whether I want to do more with it or not. Because if I can get it to a level where I'm really happy, like if I can get the presentation side of it really working with just the base poses, then I probably won't need to spend a lot of time on it. And I do have another project, well, several other projects that I want to kind of continue working on as well. The big one is my more, I don't know, sci-fi character, which is sort of a totally different sort of process, but it's just it's a lot bigger than this project is in terms of the amount of sculpting work that I'm going to end up doing. So I'm kind of like eager to kind of get back into it once this is done. So I keep thinking about all the different rigging things and blend shapes and deformations that I could do on this, but at the same time I'm also like, well, maybe my time is better spent working on a new project and focusing on the modeling side and all that sort of stuff too. And I always end up kind of going back and forth on that stuff You know, back in the day, it wasn't really a question when it took me, you know, only a little bit longer to kind of get all that other work done in tools like Softimage. Now it's like, plus, you know, there's so much more that could be done in a tool like ZBrush too, right? So it's like there's so much to learn. There's so many skills to showcase, both between, you know, the modeling and the texturing and all that stuff. It's like, do I really want to add rigging and all that sort of stuff back into the mix just so that I can show the model off or something, right? Maybe I should, right? But it's something that I gotta kind of think about and look at, I guess. Anyway, I'm torn. I'm really not sure. But maybe an auto rig is the right choice for something like that if I'm not too interested in spending my time building the skill set up too, right? So thank you. That's a good thought. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so I got that all taken care of. It is 12:50, so I think I'm gonna have to call it here because I'm going to be out of time. I do have to meet with some students, so I apologize for those of you that are just tuning in and checking this stuff out. For those of you that have been around, thanks for hanging out and watching. Thank you, Christopher, for the chat as well. I look forward to continuing on and doing some more of this and sharing that with all of you as well. And hopefully I can do a nice detail pass on the little details on the genes now that I've got this poly count. I mean, my max poly count's down 25,000 or 25 million polys now, so hopefully taking that out will help me a little bit here. I should actually take this down a little bit as well. Let's make sure my clothing meshes aren't too heavy in here. Yeah. No, thank you. It was always nice to catch up as well. I hope I can finish this up and move into the game resin soon. So I think once I do the cloth, the pass on the pants for the detail, and I tackle the belt. I think the belt is the one thing that I haven't. Well, the belts. I guess there's two straps, right? I've got the belt here, and then the strap in the back that I've got to do, and I still have to build a little buckle for it. So maybe I'll do a little bit of Z modeling there to block that out real quick. Throw something simple in there, and just have that in to cinch up the back. But I'll just do those, and then I should be in a spot where I can start doing my game resin and really build this out. We'll see, but till then, thanks so much again for joining, and we'll do this again. Usually around Wednesdays and Friday in the morning. If I get the chance to stream, that's when I'm on, but I don't have any set schedule that I can guarantee. So if I'm around, come pop in again, and I look forward to sharing some more with you. Cheers, and have a good day.